ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
And we're back. Like we never left. It's Live Zone from Live Zone Sports, as always, here with you on Dynamics on the Hardwood. And we also have my co-host, Denzel. Denzel, how you doing today?
Man, I'm gonna be honest. I'm tired, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's been a long last few days, man. I'm tired, but like I'm ready to get into the action and what we got to talk about tonight, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, as you know, we have a Hall of Fame class for 2025. We're going to start off by talking about that. Denzel, it looks like we're getting even older than what we thought we were getting. Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard, two people that we watched growing up, heading into the Hall of Fame. What does this mean for the NBA? And could we be on the verge of a new era coming soon, knowing that our guys that we watched as kids are now heading into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I think it's first of all, I'm happy for both of these guys. I think both of these guys, this is well deserved. Um, with Melo, with Dwight Howard, obviously there's some other Hall of Fame inductees. I seen referee Danny Crawford got into the Basketball Hall of Fame as well. So kudos to all the people who got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Uh, much respect to these guys, because these guys were pioneers in terms of change, not just impacting the game. You know how they impacted the game, and obviously starting off with Carmelo. Melo is we know how much of a scorer he was. Obviously 2013's NBA scoring champion, um, All-Star, 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA. Um, 70, made it on the 75th anniversary team that they did a few years back. Carmelo Anthony, obviously known for his mid-range jumper, his post-up skills. Everyone knows the three to that noggin there. Everyone knows that celebration. Uh, yeah, Carmelo Anthony is someone that I mean, what? Obviously, yes, everyone will uh, have their own thing with Carmelo not being a winner, not winning championships, and all this jazz. But that's besides the point. His impact on winning basketball. You look at his first 10 seasons with the Denver Nuggets, they had winning seasons. They were
Yeah.
43 and 39 or better in all of those years. In those first 10 years, he was with the Denver Nuggets before he went to the New York Knicks. So, and he was winning in New York too. So has plenty of 40 and 50 win seasons throughout his NBA career. Yes, I would have loved to seen Melo get a ring. I think a lot of people would have loved to seen this guy get a ring. Um, I think towards the end of his career, he was chasing a little bit after, because, it's either that or, you want to be in that. I think ultimately a lot of people not just don't just want to be in the Hall of Fame, but want to be in the brotherhood of winning a championship and winning a ring. And
Yeah.
so I as I mean, Melo, Melo was a tough guard, and you hear that a lot from a lot of the previous NBA players like Paul Pierce and T Mac and all those guys. Those guys were like, Carmelo was no fun. He was no joke to be up against uh, on the floor, on the offense, especially on the offensive end. If you're guarding him in the post, like Melo, that little jab step, pull up, from the mid range. So, um, yeah, when I look at Melo, I think of someone who is definitely and arguably one of the top scorers, if not one of the best scorers of his generation, especially being part of that early, I mean, pretty much part of that first year of the one and done era, pretty much, like, because after, I would say, when was that? After 2004, 2005, that's when that's when they started. Oh, 1 year of college. They must play 1 year of
Yeah.
college before they can enter the league. And so, Melo was one and done before the one and done era started. So it's
It's
yeah,
true.
I have very high praise for Carmelo Anthony, someone who I would have loved to see win a ring. But what are your thoughts on Carmelo Anthony getting into the Hall of Fame, my man?
I think that it's the most deserving that we have
Hmm.
seen in quite a long time. I mean, don't get me wrong. We saw Vince Carter. We saw Tracy McGrady. We saw Paul Pierce get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We've seen quite a few guys that we watched growing up getting into the Hall of Fame, but it just doesn't hit as much as this one hits home. Carmelo Anthony, when I was growing up watching basketball, he was the guy that we all looked at and said, I want to be like him. The footwork was nasty. The step back was nasty. The little hesitation he had was
Yeah.
unguardable. The jab step going into the mid range shot, unguardable. This guy was just on the wrong teams, I would say, even though, yes, he made the playoffs with these teams and he
Yeah.
made these teams relevant, he was on the wrong teams. If you put him in LeBron's shoes, how many rings do we think Carmelo Anthony gets? Right?
Ooh.
That's the thing that, that's the thing that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, because I know that there's a lot of LeBron fans here. But my thing is that Carmelo Anthony, I would say growing up, was right next to Vince Carter as the players that I wanted to be like. It was Vince Carter
Yeah.
and it was Carmelo Anthony. And when I say Carmelo Anthony, I don't mean Knicks Carmelo, because Knicks Carmelo was great. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
there is nothing that could have compared to that nice, shiny Carolina blue and yellow jersey from the Denver Nuggets with
Mm.
Carmelo Anthony's name on the back. So for me, I think it's well deserved for Carmelo. I also think it's well deserved for Dwight Howard. We talk about, the best sharpshooters in the generation and everything like that. I don't think that Carmelo is one of the best. I think that he is the best sharpshooter that we have seen in that generation, coming from 2003 onward. I don't think that
Yeah.
there's a better sniper, better shooter than what we've seen Carmelo Anthony do. But when we talk about defense now, that's where it gets tough, because
Yeah.
yes, Carmelo was great at defense, but there was one guy that was a hell of a lot more dominant on the defensive end when it came down to it, and that was Dwight Howard. When we saw Dwight Howard on the Orlando Magic, it was like we saw Shaq 2.0. He was one of the most dominant centers we have ever seen play basketball, and he often gets disrespected based off of his time in LA and Houston, where he wasn't able to win a ring. But little did people know he was dealing with injuries throughout that whole entire time, and was told that he was going to play a different type of basketball and he wasn't going to be Dwight Howard as what we knew him as in Orlando. So I don't think that it has anything to do with him. I think it more had to do with the coaches saying and what they played as an offensive playbook. But his days in Orlando, he ended up getting a ring with Los Angeles after with Braun. I
Yeah.
mean, the both of them are definitely deserved, and we got the '08 Redeem team up there too. So I mean,
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So good Hall of Fame class. I praise the NBA for their Hall of Fame classes, because usually the Hall of Fame classes are literally like pieces of garbage. But the last few years with the
Hmm.
NBA has been nothing but banners for the Hall of Fame class, and they made a banner with this one, having the two guys highlighting it, and that is Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard.
So with Dwight Howard, well deserved. 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, 5-time All Defense. We know what Dwight Howard. I was happy that he won a ring. Yes, I know it was in the bubble, but at the same time, I was still happy to see Dwight Howard to get a ring after making the finals in 2009, and you just happened to go up against Kobe and Paul Gasol, and
not even just that. What would have happened if Dwight Howard was that third person? Because originally that was going to be the big three in Miami. It was going to be Braun, Wade, and Howard, but they didn't have enough cap room to do it because they wanted to keep guys like Mario Chalmers and Udonis Haslem and Shane Battier on the team with them. So what would have happened if we had those three on the same team? One of the most dominant centers of all time in Dwight Howard, going against one of the most unselfish stars that we've ever seen in Dwayne Wade, plus one of the up-and-coming rising stars and the golden child of LeBron James. It could have been more dangerous than what we saw in the Miami Heat years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The one thing that I made a big deal about this when the NBA 75th anniversary team came out.
Mm-hmm.
And to see Anthony Davis on that list and not see Dwight Howard on that list. And
I'm with you.
That was one of the most disrespectful things. Whoever voted in Anthony Davis, like obviously there were other snubs on that list, but the biggest one for me was Dwight Howard not making the NBA 75th team. He's won 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. He has the same I get in terms of defense, both of them are world-class defenders at defending the rim. Anthony Davis, great at defending the rim, but the issue I have with, where I'm going with this, it's all about availability and being injury prone and all that jazz. When we look at Dwight Howard missed 1 game in his first 4 seasons. He missed 4 games in his first 6 seasons in the NBA. He played 70 or more games. I'm looking at it right here. He played 70 or more games, and I mean, well over 70% of the seasons he was in the NBA. And Anthony Davis, you can't even get 50. You can't even get Anthony Davis to play the minimum 65 games to get to be recognized, at least in the conversation of Defensive Player of the Year. I think Anthony Davis would be recognized way more as Defensive Player of the Year if he was healthy all the time. But besides the point with Defensive Player of the Year, my biggest issue with that is Dwight Howard has all the accolades in the world. And the one accolade I'm not happy with, I'm happy he's a Hall of Famer. I'm happy the voters put him in. But I'm not happy they left him off the 75th anniversary team, especially against Anthony Davis. Yes, similar numbers, similar credentials.
And Damian Lillard.
Damian Lillard, I love Dame Time. Don't get me wrong. Dame Time is a awesome, you talk about hitting some clutch shots in his career. Damian Lillard hit some big time shots, but to snub other guys off this list, I'm just gonna. There's quite a few examples of guys getting snubbed off this list, but I'll give one example. Alex English of the Denver Nuggets from back in the 80s, the late 70s, early and into the 80s. They were the Denver Nuggets, that high-powered offense Denver Nuggets team. Anthony English, by the time the NBA did its 50th anniversary team, he was 7th all-time in scoring. When they did the 75th anniversary team, he was 20th all-time in scoring, and they still left this guy off the list. There's other guys like Artis Gilmore, a pioneer, not just in the NBA, but prior to the NBA, he was one of the renowned figures in the ABA before they joined forces with the NBA. So that's just 2 examples of guys.
Sidney Moncrief.
Sidney Moncrief. Oh, one of the greatest. Oh, speaking of
One of the
guards who
most
win.
underrated players in NBA history. NBA history.
Speaking of our guards that should win Defensive Player of the Year,
Yeah.
speaking of that, yeah, Moncrief was another guy. Like, yeah, there's so many snubs on that anniversary list, and I get it. There's always gonna be that. It's like the All-Star game every year. Someone is always going to get snubbed of being an All-Star. But yeah, that's the one thing I cannot stand is they were quicker to put him in the Hall of Fame than put him on the NBA 75th team. Like, that's all I gotta say there.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
leaving it there. But yeah, Dwight Howard, Carmelo, two well-respected guys in the league, two guys who dominated their positions at the heights of their peak, at the peak of their powers. Honestly, one of my favorite teams to watch was Orlando. Turkoglu, Rashad Lewis, Dwight Howard,
They
Jameer
had Vince
Nelson.
Carter at one point. They had
Yeah.
VC at one point.
Yeah, VC at one point was on that
Yeah.
team with those guys. And
Courtney Lee.
yeah, Courtney. Oh,
That's a
dude,
name out of the hat.
yeah, I'm telling you, that was one of my, like, in those late 2000s, early 2010s. Orlando was one of my favorite teams to watch. I'm still mad at LeBron for hitting that game-winning three in Cleveland over. I think it was over Turkle, or no, it was over Rashad Lewis there at the top of the three, at the top of the three there. I'm still mad about that shot, because if that shot doesn't go in, that series goes completely different.
110%.
So, but yeah, man. Oh, brutal.
All right. Well, you already hear first. Denzel and Live Zone love the Hall of Fame class. Love what the NBA is doing on that side of things. Maybe could work on that 75 player list. But we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually.
Just a little,
100
just a
players
little.
comes on. 100 players comes on. They both, all those guys that we mentioned better be on there.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
But we're gonna head over into a little bit more mellow talk, a little bit of what if scenario, a little bit of history for you. As you know, the 2003 draft, one of the best drafts that we have ever seen in the NBA, period. Probably a lot of people consider it probably the best draft. I think that there's a few better ones in there. Maybe definitely one, Kobe's draft, in my opinion. I don't know. But we're going to be talking about the draft. Obviously, LeBron James was going number 1 to Cleveland. He was the home guy. He was the guy that was going to save Cleveland and everything like that. Number 2 then was the Detroit Pistons, where they brought this team together that looked very dangerous, that was very underrated. You had a Ben Wallace, you had Richard Hamilton, you had Chauncey Billups. I mean, the names go on and on for that team. You know them. We all know them. The '04 Pistons, they were nothing to look past or anything like that. They ended up picking Darko Milicic over a guy like Carmelo Anthony, or over a guy like Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh. But from what we know, Syracuse Carmelo Anthony was a different animal. He was the guy that everybody was looking at, the guy that was saying, hey, maybe Cleveland's going to go with Carmelo Anthony instead of going with LeBron James. I know it was very unlikely, but there was a conversation there on who the better player was going to be. So the conversation here, Denzel, what happens if Detroit ends up picking Carmelo Anthony? Does anything change in the history books? Does Carmelo Anthony end up being a champion? What are we looking at when it comes to all that?
Does anything change in the history books? Do eagles fly?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. Like, 2003 draft class, up there as one of the all-time great draft classes. You can put it up there with Kobe's draft class. We could talk about the draft class of '84, Olajuwon, Sam Bowie, Jordan. The list goes on and on with that
Stockton.
draft class. Yeah, exactly. So, this draft class is up there. We knew LeBron was going to Cleveland, hometown hero. We knew that was going to happen. Detroit, I struggle with this one mightily because Detroit is coming off of some pretty good years leading up to this draft class. They had an opportunity. Yes, Darko Milicic. Let's just be real here. One of the worst top 5 draft picks probably of all time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I understand Darko Milicic played 10 years in the league. The guy didn't even score more than 3,000 career points as a number 2 overall draft pick. Now,
Yep.
yes, we could put him in a conversation of Anthony Bennett, et cetera, et cetera. Conversation for another day and time. But with that being said, some of the things that really make me head scratch about Detroit's decision to go with Darko Milicic over a Carmelo Anthony or a Chris Bosh or a Dwayne Wade. For the reason why they didn't go with Carmelo Anthony, one of those reasons was, and I know you're gonna look at me cockeyed here, but they didn't want to interrupt the development of Tayshaun Prince. That is one of those reasons. One of those reasons. Now, I'm not saying it's the full reason, but I think it's part of the reason why they didn't go after him. Listen, one word for that: BS. That's all I gotta say. Like, to not pick Carmelo Anthony, like if Carmelo. So let's give a little context here. So after the 2003 draft, this is what the Detroit Pistons did in the 5 or 6 seasons after that draft. They go 54-28 in regular season. They win the title in 04. That's the season right after the draft. That's that next season right after the draft. Then you go 04-05. Same record, 54-28. They lose to the Spurs in Game 7. Arguably, people say that they were 1 quarter away from winning back-to-back rings, and there's a massive case for that. I agree with that statement. They could have easily won back-to-back rings that year. Then you go 05-06. They go 64-18. They lose to the Heat, Dwayne Wade's Miami Heat, in the Eastern Conference Finals. They go 53-29 in 06-07, lose to the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. They go 59-23 in 07-08, lose to the Celtics in the conference finals. And then in 2008-2009, that's where things, I think that's right after Rasheed Wallace declaring retirement there. 08-09, they go 39-43, swept in the first round by the Cavs. So just to give a little bit of context of Detroit and what they did immediately after that draft. Now, if we add the addition of Carmelo Anthony to this team, no matter the development of Tayshaun Prince. By the way, for those who don't realize, Rasheed Wallace was not picked up until the trade deadline of 03-04. After, in the like 2/3 through that season, right before the trade deadline, they picked up Rasheed Wallace. So Rasheed Wallace is being added into the mix on that team as well. Late in the season, you add Carmelo, imagine Billups, Hamilton, Melo, Rasheed, and Ben Wallace as your starting 5. Like, this is like catastrophic proportions here. Now, obviously, we know Chauncey Billups meets up with Melo in Denver later. Like, we're talking like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
Like, that's when Chauncey Billups. Right, exactly. That's when he meets up with him and becomes teammates with Carmelo Anthony out in Denver. But if Melo got drafted by Detroit, we could be asking ourselves a couple of simple questions here. One, LeBron James might not ever come out of the Eastern Conference. That 07 finals run where they got their tails whipped by the Spurs in 2007 there, wave that goodbye. Wave all your Eastern Conference, like all those Eastern Conference finals appearances, like wave all those deep postseason runs and being relevant in the Eastern Conference. Melo would have more relevancy. Now, I'm not saying in terms of hype, in terms of expectations, because obviously LeBron had the highest expectations coming straight out of high school, the chosen one, et cetera, et cetera. And so, there's a lot of high expectations with LeBron James coming out of that draft, but LeBron would not be relevant at all in the Eastern Conference. Now, can we say down the road the Cavaliers try to find some horses to go along with them to compete with Detroit if Melo was with Detroit? Yeah, I think they would try and find a way to get over the hump. I still don't think they do because, yes, everyone talks about a bum Cavs team that LeBron took to the finals in 2007. Carmelo's with Detroit. They're not getting to. I don't see LeBron getting to the finals until he finally gets to Miami in 2011. I don't see that happening. He would have had to wait a lot longer to get to the finals. One, and honestly, the other question we should be asking ourselves is, how long would it have taken for LeBron to move out of Cleveland if he kept? You go up against Melo with Detroit year after year after year. We're looking at Detroit here. Detroit without Melo went to the Eastern Conference Finals or better in 5 straight seasons. Now, when we look at Denver and what they did in the postseason those 6 years, lost in the first round, 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 lost in the first round.
Yeah.
Obviously, yes, building upon the franchise player that is Carmelo Anthony at the time. So, obviously, Detroit was a team that was more ready to win in that scenario. And obviously, I bet you that is a draft pick that not just ownership, but even the GM at the time of Detroit at that time period is regretting not picking Carmelo Anthony, because we're talking they were on the verge of back-to-back titles, 1 quarter away from back-to-back rings without Carmelo. If they had Carmelo, you heard it here first, folks. Dynasty. I'm gonna throw that word out there. I think that that Detroit team making it to the Eastern Conference Finals or better in 5 straight years. Who knows what they do in 08 and 09 after Rasheed Wallace retires? But we're talking deep postseason run 6 years in a row. We're talking finals appearances. I think that Detroit with Melo could have won 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, 4 out of 6. I really do think that team would have ultimately dominated the East. Could we see Boston winning in 08 after if Melo goes to Detroit that year, in the draft that year? There's so many what if questions, but my biggest one is, listen, LeBron hater number 1 right here. I think he's an all-time great.
That's me. That's me.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh boy. Folks, put your seatbelts on. We have a little turbulence here. So LeBron's an all-time great. There's no doubt about it. But LeBron wouldn't be as relevant. There would have been a lot of pressure, even more pressure on LeBron to get over the hump early, because if Melo goes to Detroit, LeBron's not staying in Cleveland as long as he would have. Number 1, where would he have gone? Would he have gone out west? Listen, the West was the more dominant conference, and it is still the more dominant conference even to this day. The last 20 years, it's the Western Conference has been 10 times better, the better conference than the Eastern Conference. Detroit would have handled their business for that section of period right after the draft. Yeah, LeBron, sorry, buddy. LeBron might not have 4 rings. LeBron might 1, maybe 2, if Carmelo gets drafted by the Pistons. Where are you at, my friend? What do you what scenarios go through your mind in this situation with Carmelo Anthony? Do you think that obviously Carmelo, yes, they go on that 5-6 year run. But do you think Carmelo, the 5 years after that 5 year, 6 year run, going to the Eastern Conference Finals and the finals year after year after year, do you think Carmelo could have kept that going into the early 2010s? Or do you think someone else is going to rise to the occasion and take over?
All right. Well, I'm going to start off at the very beginning
Yeah.
first. All
Yeah.
right. So obviously, I do agree with you. I think if Melo ends up on Detroit, I don't think that it's just about a relevant status of LeBron James. I don't think he's in the Eastern Conference when it comes to Melo going to Detroit. Everybody forgets that there was a trade offer from the Los Angeles Lakers, hands shook and everything. LeBron James for Kobe Bryant. Everybody forgets about that. And Kobe was the one that said no. Now, if we're in a different reality, Detroit gets Carmelo Anthony. I do see them winning a few rings. Here's the thing. I see them winning the one that they got, obviously. I see them
Right.
winning the next year. All right. The next year after that was '06 Miami Heat, right?
Right. They lose to the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Yeah.
Yeah, I see them winning that. I think that it ends up being the Eastern Conference is Melo versus Wade. That's what I see in the Eastern Conference. That's the rivalry right there for you that kicks off that 90s hatred on the court, love on
Ooh.
off the court. I think we see that come out if Dwayne Wade and Carmelo Anthony are fighting in the Eastern Conference every year. I do want to say this. I do see the Boston Celtics still winning. I'm not just saying that because I'm a Boston Celtics fan, but we look at that Boston Celtics team and they were the last or one of the last. I'll give you the Mavericks when they beat the Miami Heat. One of the last real championship teams that we have seen in the NBA. And when I mean championship teams, I don't mean, hey, let's put Kevin Durant and Steph Curry on the same team. I'm not talking about super
Yeah.
teams. I'm talking about real championship caliber teams. The Boston Celtics are one of the last teams that actually showed that they were hungry for a championship instead of it being handed to them. So for me, I don't think they beat Boston, but I do think they win the next year too. But all this comes into reality of, hey, LeBron's in LA now. LeBron's going to get Paul Gasol as a teammate now. What does that mean for Kobe Bryant? Does Kobe Bryant go play with Dwayne Wade in Miami? Does Kobe Bryant attract people to Cleveland? What happens in Cleveland at that point, right? Who do they get in the draft at that point? Because we all know if Kobe was there, he was making the decisions, especially during that time. He
Oh,
was the
yeah.
face. He was the face of the league. There was no
Yeah.
better than Kobe Bryant at that time.
Mhm.
So for me, I do think that LeBron would be relevant. I don't think he would be in the GOAT status, though. I really don't. I think young LeBron would get the same way that Bronny is right now, where it's getting to him. And I feel like a LeBron James that's in his 20s, young as hell, rookie year, going into his first few years. We saw what happened in Cleveland. He couldn't play on the biggest stage. So what
Yeah.
happens in LA? What happens in LA? That's my point. So for me, I think of LeBron as more of a project at that point. Whereas Melo inserts himself into that GOAT status. We could see, let's see, '03 to '09. How many years is that? 6? We're
6. Yeah.
seeing 5 out of 6 times going to the NBA finals with at that time would have been a super team. I'm sorry. I'm taking that team all day. I'm taking Carmelo all day for the GOAT status. I think that he's the guy to watch. I just can't look at LeBron as a GOAT stat. And I'm going to be real with you. There are a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, that are going to hate me saying this. But if we see Carmelo Anthony on the Detroit Pistons, I think that changes the course of reality, and I think that changes the course of NBA history. And I really do think that we could see Carmelo Anthony clip not just Kobe Bryant, but even Michael Jordan. Big reality. Big reality. He has the potential to do it. He has the skill set to do it. If he gains that mentality in Detroit, I think we're looking at Carmelo Anthony as the greatest basketball player of all time. That's just me.
I mean, that is a monumental take. Let me start off by saying that to put him in GOAT status if he was on Detroit. Man, well, I mean, I like your thought process of the LeBron, Kobe Bryant thing there that ended up getting rebutted because Kobe was like, nope, not having it. Man, what would LeBron look like in LA right now? Like,
That's what I'm saying. That and here's big picture, right? We see that time that Carmelo Anthony is in the NBA Finals. I say he wins 6 out of 7 years. You could even push that back to 2010, right? Where, because LeBron, I don't see him getting to the NBA Finals in an LA uniform. Maybe he does. Maybe he attracts something. I don't know. But in that case, we would get the LeBron Kobe Bryant finals in 2010, maybe, or the LeBron Carmelo finals in 2010. But 2011 comes, Kobe Bryant decides to take his talents to South Beach with Dwayne Wade. That fits right in right there. 2011 to 2016. That's Kobe's time to shine.
yeah, I mean, there's how many okay, then you can start saying if that ended up happening and Kobe teams up with Dwayne Wade in Miami, not 5, not 6, not 7, like
Yeah.
now you could say that, like, you could see a three-peat coming out of Miami. And Miami was on the verge of a three-peat with LeBron in real life. And
yeah,
if they, like, man, a very similar situation. Absolutely.
We just hinted at this. I just hinted at this with Dwight Howard. At first, the first big three was going to be LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Dwight Howard, but the cap space didn't work. Is there a reality that Kobe Bryant takes a pay cut because he's desperate to win championships at this point in his career? Teams up with Dwayne Wade, and then you have Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade, and Dwight Howard all on the same team in Miami. I think it's a big reality. And then after that, we talk about Chris Bosh, because Chris Bosh was not staying in Toronto at that time.
No.
Does Melo attract Chris Bosh to come to Detroit? There's a lot of scenarios there. There's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of scenarios when it comes to all those moving pieces. And to think all the moving pieces we're talking about were the four out of the 5 top picks in that draft that year. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
And so there's
what happens to Chris Paul? What happens with that Chris Paul trade? Does that Chris Paul trade go through now that he's teaming up with LeBron?
Oh, I know. Yeah, that was another one. Oh my goodness, that's another.
The whole trajectory of the NBA changes just based off of one singular draft pick.
Yeah. And like you said, like 3P 05, 04, 05, 06, Melo in Detroit, absolutely. Like,
and then 07, he gets the 4P, and then he loses in 08 to the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And then he comes back in 2009 and 2010 and wins 2 more. There's 6 championships right there. And he's about to hit his prime.
Yeah, I know, especially being a one and done player coming out of Syracuse, 6, 7 years in, he's 26, and like you say, he's entering that prime age. And okay, LeBron does this, LeBron goes here. Oh wait, Kobe's over here now.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
when
also, what
it's
does that mean? What does that mean for Chauncey? What does that mean for Ben Wallace? We think about these guys as, hey, these guys were great in the 2000s. Now, if you
yeah,
add Carmelo to that mix, they get 6 championships together. They're not just looked at as a dynasty, they're looked at as one of the best players in their position of all time. Especially with Chauncey Billups. We talk about Chauncey Billups as one of the most underrated basketball players in not even just the 2000s, but also the 90s. Also in basketball in general, we talk about Chauncey Billups as one of the lethal guys that you don't want to go against every night. Now, what happens if you add another assassin like Carmelo Anthony right next to him, and you're going to tell me that LeBron's in a better situation than Carmelo Anthony at that time? I don't think so. I don't think so. Not
yeah,
one.
yeah. I mean, going back to what you said about Ben Wallace, and Ben Wallace left the team after 05-06.
Yep.
And Ben Wallace would have stayed. Billups was still on the team getting to closer to 2010. Then he finally left after
Yep.
the 08-09 season, and then joined the likes with Carmelo Anthony in
Joined them
Denver.
there. And they were a
Yeah.
playoff team. Now imagine if Chauncey Billups was not old. Imagine if Chauncey Billups was in his prime. Imagine if Chauncey Billups was one of the best point guards in the league and had the ball in his hands with what he wanted to do instead of, hey, you have to hand the ball to Melo. Hey, you have to hand the ball to J.R. Smith. Hey, you're a veteran now. Imagine if we saw assassin Chauncey Billups with the defensive mindset in Ben Wallace mixed with Nuggets Melo. I mean, case closed. Case closed right there.
I know. I mean, when we look at the Nuggets, because as that run of Detroit, now we're talking real life here, that run of Detroit starts winding down after the 07-08 season. In 07-08, Denver goes 50-32. Then they go 54-28 in 08-09. Then they go 53-29. They go 50-32. And then everyone, I mean, a lot of people forget 2011, 2012, we had the NBA. Was it like the contract bargaining agreement or something like that? And
Yep.
it was a shortened season. Something, I forget
The
specifically
lockout.
what happened during that year, but it was like 66, only like 66 games were
Yep.
played that year. They go 38-28. And then the year after, 2012, 2013, Carmelo's last year in Denver before he went to the New York Knicks, they go 57-25. And to think those last 2 or 3 years, Billups was with them. And it's like, imagine if these guys, Billups is at the peak of his powers, Wallace, Rasheed, oh man, just
And not to mention Prince is developing on the back end too.
right. Like Prince could have been their sixth man.
Case
Prince could have been
closed.
their sixth man coming off the bench.
One of the best teams that we could have ever seen play basketball, and we got snubbed out of it.
I know for me, I am like, I'm like most people who are just like, because we talked, I said at the beginning of the show, like Carmelo was one of those guys that you wanted to see win a ring. It's like Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of those guys who's put so much time, energy, and effort and love into the game to where you want to see a guy like this win a ring. They've helped transcend the game. You want to see these guys win, but it's just like biggest thing is health. One has got to be on your side, and two, you got to make sure you got. It's not on the players, but it's on the people up top that they have to make sure that you're putting the right pieces, fitting the right pieces around your franchise players to make deep postseason runs and get to the finals and have a chance to win rings. And so there's a lot of what ifs on that side of it. But when we go back to Melo, there's zero doubt in my mind we're talking three-peat. I'm not saying you can see a second three-peat. I'm not saying you couldn't.
6 out of 7. That's the
Yeah,
way I'm
I
looking at
mean, oh, easily you could see a similar run like Jordan. You could easily see 6 and 8 years. You could easily see that.
But we're just talking about before Carmelo hit his prime.
Right. Like what? Yeah.
Like what happens at the end of that? Everybody forgets all this stuff. What happens at the end of his Detroit Pistons run? 2011 comes up. He wants to go to a different team, and then after that he just happens to land with Derrick Rose in the Chicago Bulls uniform, like it was rumored to happen multiple times throughout multiple years when he was in New York. And even before he was in New York, the two places that he was going to go to was New York or it was Chicago. What happens if we see Derrick Rose and Carmelo Anthony on the same team? You got like his career, it could have led to the equivalent or maybe even more to what Bill Russell did on the Boston Celtics. And everybody, I know. A lot of
Yeah.
people are
That's
gonna,
a big. That's a big.
a lot of people are gonna hate me saying that. But if you're telling me that he gets this Detroit Pistons team, leaves the Detroit Pistons, hits his prime with a young Derrick Rose, I mean, come on, Melo would have been the guy. Melo would have been the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking. I'm. I'm. I'm looking back at some of these Denver teams, and I'm like,
Jr.
yeah, J.R. Smith. Uh,
AI.
and obviously we know J.R. Smith and Melo team up together in New York,
Yep.
for a few years there. And it's like, what? Yeah, there's the massive what if for me is, I mean, it comes down to LeBron. Like, LeBron's not relevant at all in those first
And this is the
seven,
thing.
8. We could arguably say the first 10 years of his career, he's not relevant unless he teams up like what we saw in real life with him teaming up with Dwayne Wade because he was sick and tired of running into the Boston Celtics or
Yep.
losing to Detroit or getting to the finals and losing to the Spurs in '07. Like, he got so sick and tired of it. Like you said, I absolutely agree. The pressure on LeBron James would have been 10 times greater than it is and how it happened in real life. Because, I mean, I don't see LeBron winning a ring in his first 10 years unless he teams up with someone, like he
Yeah.
goes out west and teams up with
Yeah.
someone,
Yep.
or he goes with a Dwayne Wade in Miami or something.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? LeBron could have teamed up with Dwayne Wade sooner
Here's the
in
thing. Here's the
Miami.
thing. LeBron, it has been diagnosed to him throughout all the LeBron haters. LeBron cannot win a ring without a Hall of Famer right next to him. And that's just as real as it gets with LeBron. That's why I don't consider him the greatest of all time. That's why for a long time I did not consider him as number 3. He was number 4 on my list until he broke Kareem's record. So my thing is with LeBron is, hey, you needed help to even get here, get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
We just came through a decade of seeing what players that didn't get help got in their career. Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady,
Oh,
Steve Francis, Allen
yeah.
Iverson, guys that didn't win rings. There is a reality that if Melo goes to the Detroit Pistons, LeBron is in that category too.
There's no question in my mind about that. I mean, Detroit, those mid 2000s Detroit's teams,
Mm-hmm.
arguably, I, I'm just gonna say it. Best defensive teams. Best defensive teams. They
Uh, Not
I mean,
best. I would give it second best. Like I said, that Celtics team was different.
oh yeah, Celtics team was different. I mean, you do have the 03, 04, like you have the 2002, 2003 Spurs. You have the defensive rating of the 04 Pistons, which was in the mid 90s there. Obviously, yes, the game was played a lot differently back then than it is now. Uh I mean, we're looking at this now, like, you're talking about up to the early 2010s here, and I'm thinking, is Curry getting 4 out of 8 years?
I would say so.
Is Curry
I
getting 4 out of 8 years?
I would say that the NBA is too changed at that time in that period, and Curry was able to adapt and change the game into what he wanted. He controlled the floor.
Oh
So
yeah, and he didn't even have the
Curry was a
ball in his
lot different.
hands.
Curry was a lot different. The game was so different until Steph Curry really started showing up, and then that's when the game started to change into the 3-point contest that we see today. So for me, I think that Steph Curry's deal and Steph Curry's run in this time period, none of that changes. All of that stuff still stays the same. It's just maybe the opponent is different, or
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe LeBron goes back to Cleveland and it happens all over again the way it did. But
Oh
I,
yeah.
but for me, I think of it as I just I don't know. I do see Steph Curry having that run. Either way, it's too far out to change. But when it comes down to the 2000s and early 2010s,
Yeah.
all of that changes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Curry. Curry gets drafted in 2009, and he's still. And obviously, we know about the big question marks with Curry when he
But he
came
didn't
into the
start
league.
showing up. He didn't start showing up until 2013-ish area,
Yeah,
2013,
yeah.
2014.
2013 is when he really started making, because
Yeah.
he finished. I believe, if I remember correctly, he was. Yes,
That
finishing
was
top 10
old
in the.
Golden State Warriors days. The navy blue and orange. The
Yeah.
good jerseys.
Oh yeah. The. Oh man, the Baron Davis, Steven Jackson days. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, sign me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Curry. Yeah, 2013 was the year that Curry really started getting going. But like Curry, early in his career, those first 2 or 3 years, it was an up and down thing because remember he had those numerous ankle injuries
Yes.
early in his career.
It was a
And
project. It
yeah,
was a project
it
until
was
Kerr
it was a
got there.
nerve-wracking thing at the beginning.
Yeah.
They're like, uh-oh. And then he finished with like something around 23 points a game in 2013. And
But
I
that's
think
because of Steve Kerr's offense.
yeah.
When they
And that
hired Steve Kerr, everything changed.
yeah, and once that happened there, yeah, because at the time it was Mark Jackson. And
Correct.
they had a couple of really good seasons with Mark Jackson, and then they pulled
But
the plug on him. And people are like,
Monte Ellis was the guy. Monte Ellis
yeah,
was the
oh
guy
my
in Golden
God,
State until Steve Kerr
Monte
got there.
Ellis.
When Steve Kerr
Yeah.
got there, then it flipped to Steph being the guy. But before Steve Kerr was there, Monte Ellis was the guy in Golden
Oh
State
yeah.
that and there was even talks about them trading Steph Curry to the Milwaukee Bucks. And then after that, they fired their coach right there and then, if you don't remember.
Oh yeah. Monte Ellis, like, yeah, you talk about a guy that lightning fast. Like it like this
He
guy
would
looked
have
like,
dominated the NBA today.
oh my gosh, dude! With
Dominated.
that speed, we a lot of people forget in that draft year, Curry got drafted in '09, in 2009, 2010. There, that season, Monte Ellis averaged 25 a game,
Yep.
and it's like with that speed, and obviously Monte Ellis had a little jumper, but for me it was his speed and his quickness and his ability to get to
And
the
his
rim, his
defense.
acrobatics around the rim, his finishing
And
ability.
his defense. He was a rebounding machine as a little two guard that nobody expected to be a rebounding machine. He was that full team before Steph Curry got there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he averaged 2 steals a game in
Yep.
that year. He averaged 25 or more. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, the trajectory of a lot of things would have changed if Melo. I mean,
Maybe we see the new Splash Bros be Monte and Steph.
yeah, maybe that
Maybe
happens.
Clay doesn't get that run. We never know.
Yeah, exactly.
But with that being said, that has been all for this little segment about the what if on Carmelo Anthony. I'm sure that this will be coming up a lot more because what if scenarios are really fun to talk about.
Oh,
We can get lost in the conversation for a few hours here, but we're gonna keep
yeah.
it down to what we already have right now. We're gonna be right back with a little ad from Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. And then after that, we got another little history segment. Who do you choose type thing coming to you. So make sure, as always, you stay tuned.
Welcome to good food. At Atlanta Steaks and Seafood, you'll find the highest quality meats from a variety of delicious cuts, tomahawks, salmon fillets, ribeyes, and plenty more to choose from. With an easy-to-use mobile-friendly website, selecting your pick of meat is made quick and easy. And don't forget, worrying about your dinner is a thing of the past. Check out some of the amazing subscription packages that Atlanta Steaks and Seafood has to offer. Fresh steak and seafood straight to your door. Order online at atlantasteaksandseafood.com.
That was Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. Make sure you go say hi to Terry on Facebook. They got some really good packages. I have gotten a few, and I can say that it is definitely worth the money. But you know, we're gonna leave it at that. Denzel, have you gotten any packages yet?
No, I need to. First off, we need to start supporting our sponsors around here, man.
Cooking a
So yeah,
steak on the podcast.
I've heard a lot of great things about Atlanta Seafood and Steaks. I haven't gotten anything yet. I might, I might dabble a little because listen, a brother can eat. I'm just throwing that out there,
You want a good steak? This is a good steak. I'm telling you right now. But anyways, we're gonna head into another conversation NBA wise here. Get off the food conversation because it's making me hungry.
Right.
We're gonna be talking about Harden or Wade. A few days ago, ESPN really hit this one on the nail and was like, "Who do you pick, Harden or Wade? Who is the better player?" Blah blah blah. We're going to head into this. We're going to give you the real answer to this because we give the real and not opinionated. I'm not going to give you the opinion that ESPN wants me to cover. I'm going to give you my opinion. So, Denzel, who are you picking? You picking Carmelo? You picking James Harden, or are you picking Dwayne Wade? Who's the better shooting guard all time?
This is like neck and neck, in my personal opinion, where one guy lacks, another guy picks up the slack in this scenario. I mean, yes, we know James Harden, 0 rings. We know about the 2013 loss to the Miami Heat, or the 2013 loss to the Miami Heat there. But he has won a league MVP. And then you have Dwayne Wade on the other side, who has 3 rings, and he has a finals MVP. But when we look down to the nitty gritty stuff in this, it's clear and obvious. James Harden is a better shooter. Like, it's clear and obvious that the statistics show that James Harden second all time in 3-pointers made, 36% 3-point shooter all time. When you look at Dwayne Wade's stats as a 3-point shooter, let's just end it there. Let's just end it there. So, in terms of James Harden is a better shooter, he's a better passer. Yes, obviously we could look at average numbers. Yes, 7.2 career assists per game. James Harden has led the NBA in assists twice in his career. But Dwayne Wade is the better defender. Dwayne Wade is 3-time All NBA defense, and Yes, I know that is not many times for someone in their storied career, but listen, compared to James Harden, are you kidding me? This guy never plays defense. Like this guy is like a revolving door at an old Western town saloon. Like I'm sorry, man. This guy just lets guys go by him on a constant possession by possession basis. First and foremost, but statistically, I'm sorry, I'm picking Dwayne Wade. I cannot sit here and continue to chase stats. I'm not a stat person. I'm all about winning. Like me, like when I play basketball, travel team, high school, AAU, whatever, like I wanted to win. Like I'm not all about the stats. And like even though, some people would say, I counted stats in high school. I'm not going to sit there and say I did it. But I want to win. I would want to be part of the ultimate brotherhood of champions. I would want to be known for my defense. I would want to be known for me as a team player, someone who is a leader in the locker room, someone who is not sitting there going, I am the system, and then falls flat on his face because he can't play defense. Like, I'm sorry. Like, so I'm all about Dwayne Wade in this scenario. Yeah, the stats, a lot of the stats are going to look towards James Harden. But when you talk about and James Harden, yes, has won scoring titles. Great. Good for you, man. It hasn't equated to winning championships. Now, granted, yes, we can arguably say that that Thunder team, if they stayed together, would they have? Okay, what if question for another day, another time? If that Thunder team stays together with Westbrook and Harden and Ibaka and those guys, another question, another day for another time. Could James Harden have a ring? I think he could have a ring if those three guys stay together. But with that being said, that's not the case in point here, and that's not the scenario that is happening right now. Um, to me, Dwayne Wade, 3 championships, Finals MVP. Your legacy is locked in based off of what you winning, not just winning titles, but your locker room, what you've done in the locker room. Obviously, your numbers retired in the Miami Heat. Miami Heat has retired your number. Obviously, he's going to be in like Wade is going to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying James Harden won't be in the Hall of Fame, but it's I'm not gonna say Harden that's another what if for another day in time.
I don't
But
think.
I mean, fair enough, man. But yeah, give me Dwayne Wade. Give me Dwayne Wade all day. Where are you at? I have a hunch and a feeling you might be on the same boat as I am, because I mean I'm all about rings.
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you're saying. But let's not forget that the Miami Heat were the most hated team in the NBA for ruining the NBA and creating this big three between Chris
Yeah.
Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron James. Now, if this big three doesn't happen, does Dwayne Wade have 3 rings?
No, he has one.
Right, right. So that's where I'm getting at, right? If Chris Paul doesn't get hurt,
Oh,
is James Harden ringless?
now that Houston team, what was that, 2017, 2018 there? That Houston
Correct.
team, woo.
Correct. So I'm gonna give you the surprise of the day, and I'm gonna take the hot take. I'm gonna say that James Harden is the better shooting guard. Now, when it comes down to it, right? Dwayne Wade is the better leader. There's no question about that. Dwayne Wade led the Miami Heat in 2006, took the back seat in the Big Three. I don't
Yep.
know another star, another number one guy that took a back seat just so his buddy could come win a few rings with him. I
Mm,
don't. That's unheard of. So I
yeah.
understand. I understand that point. I understand it. But James Harden is a pioneer. And nobody understands that. We all look at Steph Curry as the pioneer of the three-point shot and everything like that. Great. Terrific. I agree. But right next to him is James Harden. We look at the Boston Celtics and the way that they're shooting three-point shots. Where did that offense come from? The Houston Rockets. That was the Houston Rockets playbook in James Harden days. And look at what it's doing for the Boston Celtics right now. They're winning rings because they have the personnel, they have the team, they have everything in place. If James Harden had everything in place, if he had a guy that was a secondary guy that was not injured, like a Dwight Howard or a Chris Paul that was always injured, James Harden gets a ring. And we talk about the OKC Thunder. If James Harden stays, they win a ring.
Oh yeah.
That's two rings right there. That's two rings right there. He has a chance right now, and nobody's talking about it in the Western Conference, but they are the most scariest team in the Western Conference right now, and nobody wants to talk about it. Is the LA Clippers with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. They could win a ring. So, I guess my thing is based off of what is, right? Yes, I understand that. But let me give you something. James Harden is one of the best shooters in basketball history. He is number 2 on most made three-point shots, right next to Steph Curry. That's got to be worth something. That's got to be worth something. So for me, I think it's more neck and neck than people think. But
Yes.
if I'm going with the guy, if James Harden can win a ring before he retires, James Harden is the second best shooting or third best shooting guard of all time, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, first off, yeah, the when we talk about shooting, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind James Harden is 10 who would I want shooting the last shot? James Harden, Dwayne Wade.
I think it's more neck. I think it's more neck and neck than you think when it comes to clutch 3-point shooting. Dwayne Wade's there. Dwayne Wade's there, brother.
Dwayne Wade's got some clutch stuff.
We have like 3 or 4 buzzer beaters from this man. Like this guy wasn't no scrub on the streets at the 3-point line. It's just that the game was so different that the 3-point shot was not as important. It was to get the basket down low. It was to get to the rim. You know what I mean? It's such a different game now. But one of the biggest reasons why the game is so different now is because of the same guy that you said in Philadelphia was the problem, when really he should have been the solution, but they didn't want to give him the key. So that's another thing to think about. Their key was already in Joel Embiid's hands, but Joel Embiid, that's another guy that should be great, but he's just in the wrong era of basketball to be the best. If we were talking about the early 2000s, 2010s, Joel Embiid would probably be a champion right now. But because he's in a shoot first mentality generation of basketball, he's not going to win one. I mean, it's just that simple, because the down low presence isn't as much of a priority as a guy that's a shooting guard that can also play the point guard. You know what I mean? And that's what we're getting out of James Harden that we don't get out of Dwayne Wade, that nobody talks about. We talk about Dwayne Wade as a shooting guard, right?
Yeah.
James Harden is not just a shooting guard. He's also a point guard.
He's got great vision. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. Right now, I'm going to give you the nod. Yes, I think it's Dwayne Wade. I think there is a potential that the end of the day, it still will be Dwayne Wade. But if James Harden can find a way to win a ring, I'm sorry, I'm picking James Harden.
Yeah, I mean, the point that I love that you touched on is the difference in the NBA from Dwayne Wade in his prime. We're talking '06 title team. We're talking late 2000s, early 2010s is when Dwayne Wade was really, I mean, we're talking his best basketball. And you look at the NBA at that period of time, the NBA was a more inside out game where if you, and I'm telling you, for all you guys listening out there, look at the shooting charts of NBA
They
teams
know.
from 20 years
Trust me.
ago to today.
We get
Today, all the,
comments. We
yeah,
get comments all the time that the guys in the early 2000s and 2010s and 90s can't tie the shoes of the guys now because they're better shooters and all. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
right, yeah. Two different eras of basketball for sure.
Yep.
And I was actually kind of surprised when I looked at this. I was actually kind of surprised at how long Dwayne Wade and James Harden's careers crossed over, like how many years they were in the league at the same time. And one thing I was really, really impressed with was the number of where is it? The I had it, I lost it. Dwayne Wade, this one really surprised me. So we're talking all NBA first team. We're talking top 5 players in the league. 6 times James Harden has been on that list. Like, and yes, he's won a regular season MVP. We could argue and say he should have been considered for more than one regular season MVP.
I'm
like,
one of those people. I am one of those
like
people.
we could easily say that he could have more than one regular season MVP. Dwayne Wade only twice in his career you could consider him to be a top 5 player.
It's because James Harden was cooking up, bro. Everybody forgets.
Oh,
Everybody forgets.
I will. One thing that I will always remember. We always remember the offseason trade where he went to Houston, and that first game in Houston, like 37 points. Like he put up this monster game against Detroit. And oh man, that first game I was like,
yeah, you knew,
dude. Like
as soon if you were one of those people that were lucky enough to catch that game and watch that game, you knew as soon as that game ended, you said, OKC fucked up. Like it was that. It was that.
You let go of this guy, and to me, watching James Harden in that first game reminded me of MJ and the minutes restriction he had coming off that broken foot injury.
Yep.
And they play the Celtics in '86. Yes, the almighty Celtics, and it was like unleashing a rabid dog, dude. It's like unleashing a tiger to fresh meat, dude. It was like, and once I seen that with James Harden, it was like I agree. Like there's, those Thunder team stays together, they win a title. I think eventually they crack through and win a title together.
If Chris Paul doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, if Chris Paul doesn't get hurt in Houston.
Harden, they both have a title if Chris Paul does not get hurt.
And literally the only difference when we look at, like we're talking about, you made the comparison of that Houston Rockets team to the Celtics team of this year, or of the last 2 seasons, we'll say.
Yes.
The only difference between those 2 teams is Kristaps Porzingis. Like they had Dwight Howard, a back to the basket big man, and Clint Capella was their starting center. So you have a back to the basket guy, whereas you have a versatile. And what I'm saying is, I agree with you. It's speaking more to the mindset of how the game has changed since that 2016, 2017. It hasn't even been a full decade.
Yep.
And other examples of this, Al Horford's a perfect example of this. Brook Lopez in his first 8 seasons.
If they could have gotten a Brook Lopez on that Houston Rockets team.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is a perfect example of this. Brook Lopez in his first 8 seasons didn't shoot. I think it was not even.
I think he shot 3.
Yeah, it wasn't even like 10 3-point. It was like
Yeah.
less than 23 pointers
Yeah.
attempted. And the last like 8, 10 years, that last 8 or so years here, he has shot more than 2,000 3-point attempts. It's the same thing without Horford. These guys coming up out of college were back to the basket, low post players with, with a mid-range game that could shoot a mid-range shot here and there. But it shows you how the game has moved.
Yep.
And like you said, it ultimately leads to James Harden. And what does he have? 3,100 career 3-pointers. And I mean, yes, he's second all time behind Curry. Let's just be honest. Someone will eventually catch up to Curry, but it's gonna be.
I don't think so. I don't think
4,000.
so.
I mean, if Curry keeps staying on this trajectory of hitting 2, I mean, how many more seasons do we think Curry's got left in him? Like, let's be real.
I think he's gonna play till 40. I think he'll.
I mean, I'm telling you, Curry's gonna probably make what? I would say north of 5,000 career threes. Can we?
Yeah, no. And same with James Harden. I'm sorry, I don't think anybody's catching those two.
Yeah, I mean, James Harden's going to be somewhere. I think James Harden will be north of. I could see James Harden being north of 4,000 threes, career threes made easily. The way these guys are shooting it, I mean, but yeah, you talk about that Houston team. That Houston team, what was it? 40. They shot how many threes per game? It was like 48 threes on average. The Celtics, yes. Let's just take it to another level and shoot 50 per game. Yeah. But like. It's all the.
It all starts with them.
Yeah, exactly. Like
so, I mean,
yeah, and I mean, Curry obviously, the way he shoots the 3 ball, but we have to remember the coach of the Houston Rockets team, Mike D'Antoni. I mean, that's the same coach that tried to do something with Carmelo Anthony and the Knicks in the early 2010s, unsuccessful. You have him come, you have Mike D'Antoni come in, and then, Kevin McHale at one point in time was coaching that team as well as those early years with Harden and then D'Antoni. And so D'Antoni perfected that I don't want to call it run and gun, but let's call it 3 is better than 2.
It was 3 and D.
Offense.
That's what it was, 3 and D.
Yeah. And so, I mean, yeah, that Houston team, that team was really good. Like you said, Chris Paul doesn't get that hamstring groin injury there. I mean, they close out that series against Golden State. Like, they don't lose that series. So yeah, James Harden could easily have a ring. Based off of what has happened throughout his career, he could easily have one. Like you said, you could easily have 2 if he stays with OKC.
Now, what happens if Melo? This goes back.
Go back.
What happens if Melo gets drafted to Detroit? How many rings does Dwayne Wade have then?
0.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that what if is a big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That what if plays into the futures of not just Dwayne Wade. We're talking. I mean, yes, Kobe has his 3-peat before Bron and all these guys come in and influx the league in 2003. But does Kobe have 5?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like, does Kobe have 5? Like you said, like you mentioned the what if of he could have teamed up with a Dwayne Wade, or who knows if him and LeBron team up at one point in time.
That's
like
what I'm saying.
We don't know, but it's like it's crazy that what if they're like if Melo got drafted by Detroit, a lot of things would be different. But yeah, I mean, you have a absolute. I mean, if James Harden wins a ring, and like you said, like the Clippers this year, they're arguably okay. They're the most dangerous team in the West right now. They could easily, they're on the bottom side. They're what are they? The 6th seed or the 7th seed? They're on the bottom side of that bracket. But
watch out for LA, and I'm not talking about the Lakers.
Exactly, dude. That Clippers team, man, like and it's not just what James Harden brings to the table offensively. We talked about his passing ability and his vision, but a healthy Kawhi Leonard, and you have an unselfish guy in James Harden who is I'm not gonna say I can't say James Harden is selfish when he's giving you 8-9 assists a night and he's led the NBA in assists per game. I can't say James Harden is a selfish player. Now, granted, when he was on Houston those first couple of years, okay, he's got to take charge. He's the number one guy.
Hey,
But
I'm gonna say it here. James Harden, Will Barton, Snakes in the Garden, Clippers in
is
5.
it 5?
Clippers in 5.
Oh, no, you didn't. No,
You heard it here
didn't.
first. You heard it here first. You heard it here
Oh,
first on My Zone Sports. But anyways, we're gonna head over into the future now that we're all done with the history topics here. Cooper Flagg losing in March Madness. Maybe a second year coming. How you feeling about it? There's talks about Cooper Flagg not going into the NBA draft this year. Do you think it's a mistake? Do you think it's the right move? What are we looking at?
So, first off, that catastrophic meltdown. First off, let's get that off the bat there. That was painful. That was painful to watch, to have one field goal in the last 12 plus minutes of the ball game and to be up 6 with under a minute left. That's as brutal. I don't know what's more brutal, losing that way or not being able to get a game-winning shot off like Houston did last night against Florida. Like that. Oh, dude, brutal.
I was rooting for Houston too. I was rooting for them.
I mean, I thought Houston was gonna win. They had Florida led that game for 1:05.
Yep.
1:05 out of the 40-minute game clock. And I mean, Florida's been doing it the whole entire tournament. Congratulations to them. I was thoroughly surprised to see them go on a run, but then I'm like, I shouldn't be surprised, man. They've been doing it the whole tournament where they've been down double digits and they've been finding a way to put Walter Clayton Jr. Enough said. This kid's a stud, man. We'll see where he lines up in the draft combine and all that jazz, but that's for a later date and time. But getting to Cooper Flagg, he's got a lot of motivation to come back to Duke next year. He really does. The way they lost in the Final Four there to Houston, there's a huge motivation to come back. Is it the right decision? Yes and no. And I will say this. For starters, and me and you have talked about this already, money has nothing to do with this whole entire scenario. Where he goes and plays for has nothing to do with this scenario at all. Money and the team he plays for, I don't think has anything to do with his decision to stay. Listen, you're the number 1 draft pick, man. To get into some numbers, if he is to stay in college, they're saying in NIL money, he's going to make somewhere around 6, 7, maybe close to $8 million in NIL money. Now, if he goes to the pros, they've been talking about him making something around, I've heard somewhere around like 15, 18 million is that rookie contract. So we're
15
seeing
to 20.
Yeah, exactly. 15 to 20. So we're talking 3-4 million a year. That first rookie contract, which is normally 3 or 4 years there. Money. Everyone wants to look at money, and everyone thinks money is going to complicate this issue. I don't think it's going to complicate this issue. If he stays in college, it's obviously going to encourage other possible top prospects who are clearly lottery draft picks or just a pick, or who could be drafted in general in the NBA. It could make these guys stay another year and develop their skills so they're ready for the NBA. Now,
Mhm.
I think Cooper Flagg is as NBA ready as it gets. Like, I mean, like
Me and you both.
I really do think Cooper Flagg's as NBA ready as it gets. I mean, we're talking like guys like, and of course, I have to pick other Duke players. Of course, I just realized this as I looked at my
Jason
notes.
Tatum.
Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, like just to name a couple of guys that were just these guys were as NBA ready as it gets. Cooper Flagg is that guy. Um, but yeah, it could. I mean, if he stays, it'll change the landscape of college hoops for sure. I mean, the landscape of college hoops has already changed with the NIL money already, with all these deals, and I mean, like we said in previous episodes, this is the chalkiest tournament we've seen. This is the second time we've seen 4 number 1 seeds make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
Last time we saw that was '08. Mario Chalmers. Sorry. You know, I sorry. Let me get off my soapbox on that one. But yeah, it could change the landscape of college hoops for sure. The NIL has already been doing that already. The mid-major college hoop programs are really taking a hit because you're the top leading scorer on let's just say Alabama State. Okay, you want to come to a real D1 school
Yeah.
and contend and be with other 4-star, 5-star prospects that possibly contend for a national title. So there's that landscape of it as well with the NIL. But I can't say I don't want to see Cooper Flagg stay at Duke. I think he's NBA ready. He should go to the pros. You're the number 1 overall pick, man. You should go to the pros. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Now, when we look at teams that he could potentially go to, Wizards, Jazz, Pelicans, Hornets, and believe it or not, the 76ers are right now a projected top 5 pick based off of their record.
That's what I'm
Now,
saying. Listen.
come on.
I don't want to like. I'm gonna put it to you like this, okay? I hate to cut you off on this.
Oh yeah, no.
I don't think that it's a bad idea for Cooper Flagg to stay. Now, I'm not talking about the teams. I already know what you're going to say about him going to these teams and it not being the best idea. That's the thing about an NBA star. They get drafted to a team that they can be built around. That's
Right.
what Cooper Flagg is getting into. So when we talk about the Washington Wizards, we talk about, a team like the Hornets, which I could see them getting Cooper Flagg. I don't care what the situation is. It could be you could bring back the Seattle Supersonics for all I care and start the team up again and have him be the only star on the team.
Have an expansion drafted.
Yeah, this is what the NBA play. This is what an NBA star is being all about. This is exactly the name of the game for Cooper Flagg. If you want to be the guy, if you want to be the star, it doesn't matter what team you go to.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you got around you. It matters about how can you make that team better. And no matter where Cooper Flagg goes, he instantly has an impact on that team. The guy was already working with Team USA. He already got the connects. He already got everything that he needs. He's a Duke guy. I mean, it's right there, right in front of your face. Now, I will say this. Ever since he lost in March Madness, those talks have been going away. Why?
Yes.
He walked out. He walked out of the locker room. He did not go with the team. He went alone. He walked out the same way that LeBron did on Cleveland. He walked out alone. So there are ways that I could see him going to the NBA draft. Do I see him going number 1 now that he lost? No. I could see him being in a Hornets uniform with LaMelo Ball. I really do. And if that's the spot that he's landing at, that is the best case scenario right now for him. You got Nurkic at the 5. He can play the 4. Mikhail can play the 3. The shooting guard that they got, the 3-point sniper a few years back. I
Oh,
forget his name.
not is it Josh? No, it's not Josh Green. Is it Josh
No.
Green? No,
No.
it's not Josh Green. Oh my goodness. I should know this off the top of my head. I was just looking at this. I know Seth Curry's on that team as well.
Yeah, but he's not the starter. The
Right.
starter is Brandon Miller.
Yeah, that's it, Miller.
They
Oh
have
my
Brandon
goodness.
Miller, and they have LaMelo Ball. That team is ready to win now. They just need their number 1 guy because LaMelo is not a number 1 guy. As good as he plays throughout the season, he's too injury-prone, people, to be a number 1 guy. He's a great number 2 guy. He's a great Jaylen Brown. He's a great Scottie Pippen. He's not a Michael Jordan. He's not a Jason Tatum. He's not that guy. Cooper Flagg is that number 1 guy. That's a perfect scenario for him.
I do. Yeah.
But I will say, if he does stay in Duke, I think it's the smartest decision for him. Not just because of him losing out on money, but if he's thinking about staying, if this is his decision making, and he's thinking
Right.
about staying, he's doubting himself as an NBA prospect, which means he thinks he needs more time to grow. And if a player thinks that he needs more time to grow, then he should go grow while he can.
Yeah.
So for me, I think if it's going to be based off of what Cooper Flagg is doing, I do think he's going to the draft. But if all these rumors are circulated around him and not media, stay in Duke. You have everything right there. And not to mention, next year, those Boozer twins
Oh
are
boy.
coming up to Duke to
Yes.
play. Imagine them with Cooper Flagg.
Oh
Case,
yeah.
Case closed. Case closed.
Yeah. Yeah. Cooper. I mean, I would love it. To get to your point, I'd love to see him go to the Hornets. I think the Hornets have good pieces. As well as just talk about Yusuf Nurkic. They also have Mark Williams.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Mark. Like everyone talks about
If
the
he can stay
rescinded
healthy.
trade. Yeah, exactly. As long as when Mark Williams is healthy, he's a double guy, and Nurkic is a double guy too. But yeah, Melo, Miles Bridges, Miller, Flagg. That's a.
The
That's
playoff team.
I'm telling you, right now, that's a team that could not necessarily shoot shockwaves across the Eastern Conference, but absolutely, they could easily be a team coming out of the play-in tournament and be a competitive team in a first-round series against a 1 or a 2 seed, and really, they could create problems. They have a lot of those 4 guys right there. They could create a lot of They have a lot of versatility, and yeah, we know what LaMelo's capable of. I personally like LaMelo as a passer. LaMelo Ball as a passer is phenomenal. He's got great vision.
Correct.
Just like Lonzo, him and Lonzo, they have great vision as passers. But LaMelo is more of likes being a scorer. To me, LaMelo, the way LaMelo plays basketball, looks like he's playing playground basketball. I realize it looks like he's out there on the blacktop shooting the breeze with his buddies and crossing people up. But getting back to Cooper Flagg, yeah, we're talking about missing out on money. To add on to that point and go deeper into that, there's talks that he could miss out on somewhere north of 75 to 125 million dollars.
Mhm.
Now, granted, that's with max contracts down the road. Obviously, in order for those who don't know, in order to be eligible for a max contract deal, you have to have 10 years played in the NBA and to get that eligible super max, those big super max deals that we're seeing like crazy. So everyone's talking about that. We've already discussed money's not the situation. Team, I don't think is the situation either, even though, yes, me personally, I would like to see him go to the Hornets. I would like to see him. Honestly, if there was a second team I would pick, I would say Utah. Utah's got some good pieces. I think Cooper Flagg
But
would be the
Charlotte's
number.
a big market. Charlotte's a big market.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Charlotte's a bigger market than Utah. But in terms of like him being boom cornerstone, and you have other pieces already there surrounding, like absolutely one of those two teams. Now, granted, yes, the road to the playoffs in the East is a little bit easier than if you go to Utah and you're out in the West. I'll give absolutely right on that. On that one for sure. But yeah, I mean, this, yeah, we and you, I think, are both in agreement. We both think that he's going to be a pro, but I love the thought of him staying another year. And this is just proving my point. Bronny, I wish Bronny stayed another year in college, because I think Bronny would have been a higher draft pick than 55, and it wouldn't have been forced. That whole situation wouldn't have been forced. He would have been a late first rounder, early second round pick if he stayed another year in college. That's what I would have loved to see Bronny, and he could have developed and gotten his skills a lot better. Now, I'm not saying, and obviously we've seen the proof in the pudding. He's tearing it up in the G League in those 12, 13 games he's played in the G League. He's played great. But if Cooper Flagg stays, you have, like you said, those Boozer twins coming in, and those boys are highly sought after by pro scouts right now. Like, they think these kids could play in the NBA right now. Now it's like, okay, high school to the pros. We've only seen very select few people go make that
I think
jump.
they can do it. I think they can do it.
Yeah. So we've seen a select few people make that massive jump. Now, with that being said, Cooper Flagg, yeah, I would, if he becomes the person that starts the avalanche or starts the snowball of top prospects staying another year, if they think they're being forced into going to the pros rather than honing on their skills. Like, imagine Cooper coming in next year, Cooper Flagg being drafted the following year. He stays the second year, sophomore year, comes back. Cooper Flagg.
Get my man to Detroit.
I mean, he averaged, Cooper Flagg averaged 19 a game, 7.5 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal and a half, and over a block a game. As a freshman, imagine what he's going to do his sophomore year. Correct. If he is to stay. I see him scoring north of 20 points per game. Obviously, with the transfer portal and the NIL money, who's to say some of these players that are not getting a lot of playing time on Duke, they go to a different team. They go to a different college and try to find a way to. That's what this NIL thing has done. It has really opened up players who don't really have a chance at the program they're at now, and they can go to another program that not only is offering more NIL money, but maybe offering more playing time and a better opportunity to be noticed by pro scouts, and to have that chance to be drafted in the NBA and make a name for themselves and actually have a good career in the pros. So, yeah, I want Cooper Flagg to stay, but at the same time, though, the reality is that we think he's definitely the number one overall pick. There's no doubt in our minds about that. He's the best player in college right now. And we don't listen. Don't even do the draft combine. Don't do none of that stuff. Just draft him number one overall right now. That's it. Let's find out who the lottery picks are
Yeah.
and just draft it. Like that's how good he is. So
All right. All right. Well, you heard it here first on Live Zone Sports. Everything in between history and future. Let us know what you think. Is Cooper Flagg going to stay a second year, or is he going to go to the NBA draft? As always, you can find me on ECSI platforms and as well as Real Live Zone on X. Denzel, I'm going to let you
Deportes
do your thing.
Diesel on X. Deportes Diesel on X. Daily plays, sports picks every single day. MLB, basketball. I'm trying to wait till the playoffs start to get back to NBA plays because the NBA right now is real funky and I'm staying away. But yeah, Deportes Diesel on X.
All right, all right. And as always, well, before I do that, I do want to say, like I said, James Harden, Will Barton, Snakes in the Garden, Clippers in 5. All right. All right. But with that being said, as always, you got to remember to do what, Denzel?
Stay tuned.